she was 16 months when she had that.
when she had the surgery.
And then when did she attend like preschool? When did that sort of
She
happen?
was already at childminders before a surgery. So we just kept her off childminders while she had a surgery and for a month or so after. But I think we both kind of got back to normal. So she had a surgery at the beginning of January 2023, and we were both kind of ready to get back to normal after 8 weeks. So it was sometime in the March.
Right.
Lucy went back to childminders and I went back to work.
Okay.
Probably too soon for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy was fine.
Yeah.
Lucy was ready to go back to childminders. She was bored being at home with me.
Right.
She missed her friends at childminders. She was ready. So she went back. I tried to go back to work, let's say. I don't think it's fair to say I went back to work because I may have been there in body, but I was not there in mind.
Right.
And my mum, still holding the other baby of the business, had to continue to do that for me because I had a lot to process after Lucy's heart surgery, even though we knew it was going to be happening, even though it went pretty smoothly, even though her recovery was great, I still had a lot to process and I needed some time to do that. And I went and sought, found myself some counselling and worked on that so that I was more able to be present and be able to work and be there for Lucy and John as well and, get myself back to normal, really.
So, childminders, did she start preschool? Like, is she in sort of, because when I was a kid, you did school, but before school, you did sort of a preschool.
Yeah, which they call school nursery.
School nursery.
So you start school nursery when you've turned 3. You can start school nursery in the September after you turn 3, I think it is. I'm, again, first-time mum, not an expert at these things, but I think that's right.
Right.
So Lucy turned 2 that August.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, between the March and the August, our childminders closed down.
Right.
Which, again, not the childminders' fault. They needed to close. It wasn't working for them. But for me, it was a big blow because they were very one-on-one with her a lot of the time. They were really working on her speech sounds. They were working on her physio. They were helping her to crawl and learning to walk. And they were fantastic. And I knew she wouldn't get that level of support in a bigger nursery environment. So I was worried about it. So I did quite a bit of research when they said they were closing down I think they gave us sort of a month or so's notice. And from the May to the June, I did lots of research and spoke to lots of mums in the local area. And there was a couple of families who'd had children at this specific nursery at the bottom of our road that had their children had Down syndrome. And they had good things to say about that nursery. So that gave me the confidence. And if anybody is looking for a nursery for their child and their child has Down syndrome or any kind of learning disabilities or any disabilities whatsoever, I think, try and talk to other parents in the area that that have got slightly older children and where did their children go and what did they do? Because that's so reassuring to know that they were pleased with how the nursery supported their child. So she started private nursery near where we live in the July, just before she turned 2. And she's been there ever since. So she's been there 18 months now. She's 3.5. Or over 18 months, about 20 months now. And she loves it. They've been fantastic. They've been really supportive. And they've applied for the funding that you can get, a thing called DAF funding, Disability Access Funding. And that's from the council. And that gives them that extra bit of cash to enable them to have enough staff so that Lucy can have one-to-one time regularly during the day. She has sort of 2 or 3 kind of 15, 20-minute slots where sometimes it'll be in the room amongst the other children, but they'll just focus on her or they'll take her into a quiet room and do some work with her. And that's really working on, obviously that she has targets set.
Right.
And they're working on those targets all the time. And the targets are set predominantly by the speech and language person that she's been seeing since she was about 4 months old.
Right.
What most of the country call portage person who in Newcastle is called a SENDOS person, which is Send Outreach Service. I don't know why we call them something different in Newcastle, but she does the same as a portage worker would do, which is learning through play.
Okay.
So the speech and language therapist and the SENDOS lady both work very closely together to help Lucy to learn to talk, to learn to play, to learn through play, and therefore help her with her speech. So they work very closely, and they used to come to our house every couple of months. And now they go to nursery a couple of times every term, and they spend a bit of time with Lucy, and then they come up with targets. And so those targets are then fed back into her key worker at nursery, who works on that with her in a one-to-one time. And NHS Physio do the same. So we've been seeing NHS Physio since she was about 6 months old.
Right.
And they've obviously helped her enormously with physical development, with walking, etc. Although they did get a bit of a shock, because they felt when they saw her in October last year, she was still a way off walking. And within 3 weeks of that appointment, Lucy just took off walking, which shocked everybody, including her NHS physio lady. But they're all fab, they're really supportive. And like I say, they'll come into nursery, they'll set targets, they'll work with nursery so that nursery know what they're working on with Lucy. And everything's really focused. And then once a term, I go in for a meeting with them all, where we all discuss what targets has she met, what are her new targets, etc., etc. So